The lock on our front door was loose again. I'd noticed it 3 times this week, rattling like a broken promise every time Marina came home late. As a building inspector, I notice things that don't fit right. Crooked frames, settling foundations, marriages that creak in all the wrong places. It was past 11 when I heard her key fumbling in that loose lock. I stayed in my chair, pretending to read inspection reports. Watching her reflection in the dark window, Marina looked radiant. Hair slightly messed, cheeks flushed, that satisfied glow that used to be reserved for me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. "Hey babe," she called, kicking off her heels with theatrical exhaustion. "Sorry I'm so late. Alyssa needed to vent about her divorce drama. You know how she gets." I knew how Alyssa got, all right. Alyssa Martinez had been Marina's college roommate, now her supposed best friend and convenient alibi. Problem was, I'd run into Alyssa at the hardware store yesterday, and she'd mentioned not seeing Marina in months. "Must have been some serious venting," I said, not looking up from my papers. 3 hours worth. Marina froze for just a second, then laughed it off. "Time flies when you're listening to someone's life fall apart. I'm exhausted. Going to shower." She disappeared upstairs, and I heard the water running. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter where she'd left it. The screen lit up with a text from Owen V. "Thanks for tonight. Can't wait for tomorrow." My stomach dropped like a failed inspection. I'd been a fool, making excuses for months of late nights, weekend errands, and that new perfume she claimed was a gift from her sister. Building inspectors are trained to spot structural damage before it brings the whole house down. I should have seen this coming. Marina came downstairs in her robe, hair wet, looking for her phone. She saw me holding it, and her face went white. "Caleb, I can explain." "Explain what? That Owen, whoever the hell he is, can't wait for tomorrow? Or explain why you've been lying about seeing Alyssa?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. "It's not what you think?" "Right. Because innocent wives always get mysterious texts at midnight from men I've never heard of." She grabbed the phone from my hands. "You had no right to look at that." "And you had no right to cheat on me, but here we are." Marina's face shifted from guilt to defiance. "I'm not cheating. Owen is just a friend from work. We were discussing a project." "At 11 p.m. on a Tuesday? Must be some project." "You're being paranoid, Caleb. This is exactly why I need friends outside this marriage. You're suffocating me." The word hit like a slap. Suffocating. For 15 years of marriage, I'd thought I was being supportive. Apparently, I'd been suffocating. "Fine," I said, standing up. "Let's call Alyssa right now and confirm your story." Marina's face crumbled. "It's too late to call anyone." "Then we'll call her tomorrow, first thing." She turned away. "I'm going to bed. We'll talk when you're being rational." Rational. Like catching your wife in a lie was irrational. Like noticing your marriage was falling apart was paranoia. I sat in that chair until dawn, staring at the loose lock, thinking about all the things I'd failed to inspect properly in my own home. The next morning, Marina left for work without saying goodbye. She dressed carefully, the blue dress that hugged her curves, the good jewelry, perfume applied with the precision of someone expecting to be noticed, by someone who wasn't her husband. I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe twice in 20 years. Then I drove to the other side of town, to a strip mall office with a faded sign, "Greg Dalton, private investigator." Greg was exactly what you'd expect from a PI who worked insurance fraud cases. Rumpled shirt, coffee-stained tie, and eyes that had seen too much human stupidity. His office smelled like cigarettes and disappointment. "Cheating wife?" he asked before I'd even sat down. "That obvious?" 23 years in this business. You get a nose for it. What's the story?" I told him about the late nights, the lies, the text from Owen. Greg nodded, taking notes on a yellow legal pad that had seen better decades. "Standard package is surveillance, photos, documentation. Takes about a week to build a solid case. My rate is—" "I don't care about the rate. I want the truth, all of it." Greg studied me over his reading glasses. "Sometimes the truth is uglier than people expect. You sure you want the whole picture?" "I've been living in denial for months. I'm ready for ugly." "All right, then. Give me her schedule, workplace, usual hangouts. And I'll need a recent photo." I handed him a picture from our last anniversary dinner. Marina was smiling at the camera, but I remembered now that she'd been texting someone under the table all evening. "Pretty woman," Greg said. "They always are. Makes it hurt worse." I drove home to an empty house that felt like a crime scene. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt right. The coffee mug Marina had left in the sink, the romance novel on her nightstand. When had she started reading those again? The new lingerie I'd found in the laundry, tag still on, that she claimed was for me, but had never worn. My phone rang. Alyssa's number. Caleb, I hope you don't mind me calling. I felt terrible about yesterday. Yesterday? When I saw you at the hardware store. You mentioned Marina was at my place the night before, and I didn't want to embarrass her, but we haven't hung out in months. I thought you should know. The confirmation hit like a punch to the gut. Thanks for telling me. Is everything okay? You sound... Everything's fine. Thanks, Alyssa. But everything wasn't fine. Everything was falling apart, one lie at a time. That evening, Marina came home with takeout from our favorite Chinese place, a peace offering wrapped in white containers and fortune cookies. I thought we could talk, she said, setting the food on the kitchen table, about last night. I know you're upset. Upset is what you feel when your team loses. This is something else. She sat across from me, picking at her low mane. Owen Vickery is the new regional manager at my company. We've been working on the Henderson account together, that's all. And the text about not being able to wait for tomorrow? We have a presentation. He was being overly enthusiastic. The lie came so smoothly, I almost believed it. Almost. Show me your phone, I said. What? If it's innocent, show me the conversation. Marina's chopsticks clattered to the table. I'm not going to be interrogated in my own home. Our home. And you're not being interrogated. You're being asked to prove you're not lying to your husband's face. She stood up, grabbing her purse. I don't have to prove anything. If you don't trust me after 15 years of marriage, that's your problem. Where are you going? Somewhere I'm not treated like a criminal. The door slammed, leaving me alone with cold Chinese food and the certainty that my marriage was over. I just didn't know how ugly it was going to get. Greg called 3 days later. Meet me at Denny's on Route 9. You're going to want to sit down for this. I found him in a back booth, manila envelope thick with photos spread across the sticky table. My coffee went cold as I looked through them. Marina and Owen Vickery, tall, athletic, the kind of guy who probably played lacrosse in college, holding hands outside the Marriott downtown, kissing in his BMW, her head on his shoulder as they walked into a restaurant I'd never been able to afford. Hotel records show they've been meeting twice a week for 3 months, Greg said. Always the same room. He pays cash. 3 months. The timeline hit me like a sledgehammer. 3 months ago, Marina had started working late. 3 months ago, she'd joined that new gym. 3 months ago, our private life had dried up completely. Gets worse, Greg continued, sliding another photo across the table. Owen Vickery, recently divorced, used to live in Chicago. Moved here specifically for this job. But here's the interesting part. I did some digging. He and your wife went to college together. This isn't some office romance. This is a reunion. The photo showed them at what looked like a college bar, laughing over beers, her hand on his arm. They looked comfortable together, familiar. She contacted him, I said, the pieces falling into place, when she heard he was moving here. That's my read. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer. I stared at the photos until they blurred. 15 years of marriage, and she'd thrown it away for her college boyfriend. Some middle management loser who drove a BMW and paid for hotel rooms in cash. What do you want to do with this information? Greg asked. I thought about confronting them, screaming, making a scene. Then I thought about something better. I want to destroy them both. Greg raised an eyebrow. Legally, I hope? Oh, completely legally. But I want them to feel every bit of pain they've caused me. Can you find out more about this Owen character? Where he works, who he reports to, what kind of man he really is. That'll cost extra. I told you, I don't care about the cost. Greg gathered up the photos. You know, most guys just want the evidence for divorce court. I'm not most guys. And this isn't just about divorce. This is about justice. I drove home with a plan forming in my head. Marina thought she was so clever, sneaking around, lying to my face, making me feel crazy for noticing the obvious. She had no idea what was coming. That night, she came home at her usual time, acting like nothing had happened, made dinner, asked about my day, even suggested we watch a movie together. The performance was almost convincing. How's work? I asked, cutting into the chicken she'd prepared. Busy. The Henderson account is keeping everyone on their toes. How's the new manager working out? Owen, was it? She didn't even flinch. He's fine. Professional. Knows what he's doing. I bet he did. Knew exactly what he was doing when he moved across the country to steal another man's wife. Maybe we should have him over for dinner sometime. You know, be neighborly. Marina nearly choked on her wine. That's not really necessary. We keep work and personal life separate. Right, separate. After she went to bed, I sat in my chair and started making a list. In construction, we call it a punch list, all the items that need to be completed before a project is finished. This was my punch list for the end of my marriage. 1. Gather all evidence. 2. Secure finances. 3. Find Owen's weaknesses. 4. Expose them both. 5. Make sure they never forget what they've done. I was going to build their destruction as carefully as I'd built my career. And when I was done, they'd both wish they'd never heard my name. Over the next week, I became someone I didn't recognize. Calculating, patient, methodical. I tracked Marina's schedule, noted every lie, documented every inconsistency. She said she was working late on Thursday. I drove by her office and saw her car wasn't there. She claimed to have lunch with her sister on Saturday. Her sister called looking for her that same afternoon. Greg's investigation revealed that Owen Vickery was everything I'd suspected and worse. Divorced 6 months ago after his ex-wife caught him cheating, lost half his assets in the settlement, moved to our town specifically for the regional manager position at Marina's company. A position he'd only gotten because Marina had recommended him to her boss. She got him the job, I told Greg over coffee at his office. She's been planning this whole thing. Looks that way. There's more. His ex-wife is fighting for full custody of their 2 kids. Claims he's unstable, unreliable. Having an affair with a married woman won't help his case. What's his weak spot? His image. Guy's all about looking successful, respectable, drives the BMW he can't afford, wears expensive suits, talks about his executive lifestyle. But he's broke. Alimony and child support are bleeding him dry. He needs this job, and he needs to look good doing it. Perfect. Image was everything to guys like Owen. Take that away, and they crumbled. I need you to document everything, every hotel visit, every lunch date, every lie, and I need to know his schedule. What are you planning? Justice. That Friday, Marina announced she was going to a work conference in Albany for the weekend. Boring stuff, she said, packing her good luggage. Team-building exercises and presentations. I waited until she left, then called the hotel she'd mentioned. No conference, no reservations under her name or her company's name. But Greg had already told me where she'd really be. The Lakeside Inn, 40 miles north, registered under Owen's name. I spent the weekend preparing, changed the locks on the house, moved our joint savings into an account in my name only, legally questionable but not illegal since my name was on everything. Gathered 15 years of financial records, property deeds, insurance policies. When Marina came home Sunday night, glowing and relaxed, I was ready. How was the conference? I asked. Educational. Lots of new strategies for client management. Learn anything interesting about team building? The usual corporate nonsense. Trust exercises, communication workshops. She was getting better at lying, or maybe I was just getting better at recognizing the truth. Monday morning, I made my first move. Called Marina's company and asked to speak with HR about a sensitive matter regarding employee conduct. Set up a meeting for Wednesday. Then I called Owen's company, different division, same corporate parent, another HR meeting, same day. Marina left for work in her blue dress again, the one that had become her uniform for infidelity. She kissed me goodbye like nothing had changed, like she wasn't about to spend her lunch hour in a hotel room with another man. Have a good day, she called from the driveway. Oh, I will, I said. It's going to be a very good day. Wednesday morning arrived gray and drizzly, the kind of weather that matched my mood perfectly. Marina had left early for another client breakfast, code for meeting Owen before work. I watched from the kitchen window as she drove away in her Honda, probably heading to the coffee shop where they'd started meeting before moving on to more intimate locations. At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the corporate offices of Hartwell & Associates, Marina's company for 8 years. The building was all glass and steel, trying too hard to look important. I'd always felt out of place here during company picnics and Christmas parties, the blue-collar husband among the white-collar crowd. Mr. Rourke? The receptionist, a young woman with perfectly straight teeth, smiled at me. Ms. Patterson is ready to see you. Jennifer Patterson, Human Resources Director, was exactly what you'd expect from corporate HR. Stern, professional, and clearly annoyed at having to deal with whatever mess I was about to drop in her lap. Thank you for seeing me, I said, settling into the chair across from her desk. I have some information about employee conduct that I think the company should know about. This is regarding your wife, Marina? Among others. I opened my folder and spread the photos across her desk. Marina and Owen at restaurants, hotels, walking hand in hand through downtown. The timestamps showed they were meeting during work hours, using company time for their affair. Ms. Patterson's expression didn't change, but I saw her jaw tighten. These photos appear to show an intimate relationship between Marina and Owen Vickery. They do. What they also show is a conflict of interest. Marina recommended Owen for his position. She's been in a relationship with him since before he was hired, and they've been using company time and resources to conduct their affair. I see. She gathered the photos into a neat stack. Are you planning to file for divorce? That's my business. What should be your business is that two of your employees are violating company policy, creating a hostile work environment, and potentially exposing the company to liability. Ms. Patterson leaned back in her chair. What exactly do you expect us to do with this information? I expect you to investigate. I expect you to hold them accountable, and I expect you to protect the other employees who have to work in this toxic environment. She made notes on a legal pad. We'll look into this matter. I can't promise any specific outcome, but we take these allegations seriously. Good. Because if you don't, I'll be taking this information to your competitors. I'm sure they'd be interested to know how Hartwell and Associates handles employee misconduct. Her pen stopped moving. That sounds like a threat, Mr. Rourke. It's not a threat. It's a promise. I left the building feeling lighter than I had in months. One down, one to go. Owen's company, Meridian Solutions, was across town in a newer building that screamed success. The HR director there, a man named David Chen, was younger than Ms. Patterson, but just as professional. This is a delicate situation, he said after reviewing the same photos. Owen is a recent hire, still in his probationary period. Then this should be easy to resolve. Not necessarily. We have to follow proper procedures, conduct interviews, document everything. It's a process. How long of a process? Could be weeks, maybe longer. I leaned forward. Mr. Chen, let me be clear about something. This man moved to our town specifically to steal my wife. He's been conducting an affair on company time, using company resources, and he got his job through this relationship. If Meridian Solutions protects him, I'll make sure everyone knows about it. Social media, local news, whatever it takes. Chen's face went pale. Mr. Rourke, I understand you're upset, but I'm not upset. I'm determined. There's a difference. I left him with copies of everything and drove to the construction site where I should have been working all week. My supervisor, Mike Torres, was understanding when I explained I was dealing with a family crisis. Take whatever time you need, he said. But Caleb, don't do anything stupid. Define stupid. Anything that lands you in jail or costs you your job. Don't worry, what I'm planning is completely legal. That afternoon, I parked across the street from Marina's office and waited. At 12:30, she came out and got into Owen's BMW. They drove to the Marriott, same as always. Creatures of habit, both of them. But today was different. Today, I followed them inside. The hotel lobby was busy with business travelers and tourists. I sat in a chair near the elevators, pretending to read a newspaper, and watched Owen get a key card from the front desk. Room 412, same as always. I waited 15 minutes, then took the elevator to the 4th floor. The hallway was empty, carpeted in that generic hotel pattern designed to hide stains. I found room 412 and pressed my ear to the door. I could hear them talking, laughing. Marina's voice, higher than usual, excited. Owen's deeper voice, confident and smug. For a moment, rage filled my chest like poison. I wanted to kick down that door, confront them both, make them face what they'd done, but that would have been emotional, stupid, exactly what they'd expect from the betrayed husband. Instead, I took out my phone and called the hotel's main number. Marriott Hotel, this is Jessica. How can I help you? Hi, this is Detective Williams with the police department. We've had reports of suspicious activity in room 412. Could you send security to check on the guests? Oh my, yes, of course, right away. I took the stairs down 2 floors and waited. Within minutes, I heard voices in the hallway above, then the elevator doors opening and closing repeatedly. Marina and Owen would be explaining themselves to hotel security, embarrassed and panicked. My phone buzzed with a text from Marina. Emergency at work, we'll be late tonight. I smiled and typed back, no problem, take your time. The first strike was complete, but this was just the beginning. The next morning, Marina was jumpy as a cat in a thunderstorm. She spilled coffee on her blouse, couldn't find her keys, and kept checking her phone every 30 seconds. Everything okay? I asked, buttering my toast with deliberate calm. Fine, just stressed about work. Anything I can help with? She looked at me sharply, searching for hidden meaning. No, it's just corporate politics. You wouldn't understand. Right. I wouldn't understand having your affair interrupted by hotel security. I wouldn't understand having HR investigate your misconduct. I wouldn't understand watching your perfect little secret explode in your face. Well, if you need to talk, I'm fine, Caleb, just fine. But she wasn't fine. None of this was fine, and it was about to get much worse. After Marina left for work, I drove to my sister Becky's bar on the south side of town. The rusty anchor wasn't much to look at. Dive bar decor, sticky floors, and regulars who'd been drinking there since the Carter administration. But Becky knew everyone in town, and everyone told her their business. You look like hell, she said, pouring me coffee without being asked. Feel worse. Need a favor. What kind of favor? I told her about Marina and Owen, about the investigation, about my plans for justice. Becky listened without interruption, her face getting harder with each detail. That cheating snake, she finally said. 15 years, and she throws it away for some corporate asshole. Language, Beck. Don't you language me. I never liked her anyway. Too good for the rest of us, always putting on airs. That wasn't entirely fair, but I wasn't feeling charitable toward Marina's reputation. I need you to spread the word. Quietly. Let people know what's happening. Honey, in this town, gossip travels faster than bad checks. By tomorrow, everyone will know Marina Rourke is stepping out on her husband. Good. They deserve to feel the social pressure. Becky refilled my coffee. What else you planning? Still working on it, but Owen Vickery is going to wish he'd stayed in Chicago. That afternoon, I got a call from Greg. Your wife and her boyfriend are panicking. They met for lunch at a different restaurant, kept looking over their shoulders the whole time. Something's got them spooked. Hotel security visit yesterday. They're realizing their secret isn't so secret anymore. Nice touch. What's next? I'm going to apply some pressure to Owen's weak spots. I'd done my research on Owen Vickery. Divorced, paying alimony, fighting for custody of his kids, trying to maintain an image he couldn't afford. His ex-wife lived in Chicago with their children, 2 boys, ages 8 and 10. According to the divorce records Greg had obtained, Owen was required to pay $3,000 a month in child support and another $2,000 in alimony. On his salary, that left him barely enough to cover his BMW payment and his downtown apartment. More importantly, his custody arrangement required him to maintain moral fitness as a parent. Having an affair with a married woman would definitely impact that requirement. I found Owen's ex-wife on social media. Rebecca Vickery works as a nurse, active in her kids' school activities, posts pictures of soccer games and birthday parties, a good mother trying to protect her children from their father's poor choices. I sent her a private message with copies of the photos Greg had taken. Mrs. Vickery, you don't know me, but I thought you should know about your ex-husband's current situation. These photos were taken over the past month. I understand you're in a custody dispute with Owen, and this information might be relevant to your case. A concerned citizen. She responded within an hour. Thank you for sending this. My attorney will be very interested. Owen's perfect new life was about to get very complicated. That evening, Marina came home looking exhausted. She'd changed clothes at some point during the day. The blue dress was gone, replaced by a conservative gray suit that screamed damage control. How was work? I asked. Difficult. We're having some personnel issues. Nothing serious, I hope. She sat heavily on the couch. Just corporate restructuring. You know how it is. I didn't know how it was, but I was learning fast. Corporate restructuring was code for HR is investigating my affair and I might lose my job. Maybe you should look for something else, I suggested. Fresh start, new opportunities. Marina's head snapped up. Why would you say that? Just thinking out loud. Sometimes a change of scenery helps when work gets stressful. I'm not going anywhere, Caleb. This is my career, my life. I've worked too hard to give up now. Her career, her life. Notice how none of that included me. Of course, I said. I'm sure everything will work out. But everything wasn't going to work out. Not for Marina, not for Owen, and definitely not for their little fantasy romance. I was going to make sure of that. Friday afternoon, I was replacing a faulty electrical outlet in a downtown office building when my phone rang. Marina's number, but she sounded different, scared. Caleb, I need to talk to you. Can you come home? I'm working. What's wrong? Please, just come home. I found her sitting at our kitchen table, still in her work clothes, but rumpled, like she'd been running her hands through her hair. Her eyes were red, and there was a box of tissues in front of her. We need to talk, she said. About what? About us? About our marriage? About everything. I sat down across from her, the same spot where we'd eaten Chinese food a week ago when she was still pretending everything was normal. I'm listening. Marina took a shaky breath. I know you've been suspicious lately. About my schedule, my work, the late nights. Have I? Don't play games, Caleb. I know you don't trust me. Should I? She looked away. There's something I need to tell you about Owen. Here it was, the moment of truth, or at least her version of it. Owen and I, we have a history. We dated in college before I met you. I know. Her head snapped up. You know? I know a lot of things, Marina. I know you've been lying to me for months. I know you got Owen his job. I know you've been meeting him at hotels twice a week. I know you've been using Alyssa as your alibi when you've barely spoken to her since Christmas. Marina's face went white. How do I know? Because I'm not stupid. Because I hired a private investigator. Because I stopped believing your lies and started paying attention to the truth. She started crying then, big messy sobs that might have moved me a month ago. Now they just made me angry. It's not what you think, she said between sobs. It's exactly what I think. You're having an affair with your college boyfriend and you've been lying to my face about it for months. I never meant for this to happen. But it did happen. You made it happen. You contacted him, you got him the job, you started the affair. None of this was an accident. Marina wiped her eyes with a tissue. I was lonely, Caleb. We've been growing apart for years. So you decided to fix our marriage by sleeping with another man? I was confused. Owen represented something from my past, before life got so complicated. Life got complicated? We got married, bought a house, built a life together. That's not complicated. That's commitment. Something you apparently don't understand. She reached across the table toward my hand. I pulled away. We can fix this, she said. I'll end it with Owen. We can go to counseling, work through our problems. End it? Marina, you've been lying to me for months. You've made me feel crazy for noticing the obvious. You've turned our marriage into a joke. I made a mistake. No, you made a choice. Multiple choices. Every time you lied to me, every time you met him, every time you came home and pretended everything was normal, those weren't mistakes, they were decisions. Marina's crying intensified. What do you want me to do? I want you to pack your things and get out of my house. Our house. My name on the deed, my money for the down payment, my credit for the mortgage. You want to be with Owen? Go be with Owen. Caleb, please what? Please forgive you? Please pretend this never happened. Please let you keep lying to me while you figure out which man you want? I stood up from the table. I'm done, Marina. We're done. You can't just throw away 15 years of marriage. I'm not throwing it away. You already did that. She followed me to the living room, still crying, still begging. I love you, Caleb. I know I screwed up, but I love you. No, you don't. You love the security I provide. You love having a backup plan while you play house with your college boyfriend, but you don't love me. That's not true. If you loved me, you wouldn't have cheated. If you loved me, you wouldn't have lied. If you loved me, you would have talked to me about our problems instead of running to another man. Marina collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. What about Owen? His job? His reputation? Or what about them? If this comes out, it'll ruin both of us. I looked at her, this woman I'd loved for 15 years, and felt nothing but contempt. Marina, it's already out. HR at both your companies is investigating. Owen's ex-wife has photos of you two together. By Monday, everyone in town will know what you've been doing. Her face went from red to white. You did this. You're trying to destroy us. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences of your choices. You bastard. You vindictive bastard. Maybe, but I'm not a cheater and I'm not a liar. Marina stood up, her sadness replaced by anger. Fine. You want to play hardball? I'll get a lawyer. I'll take half of everything you own. Good luck with that. You might want to check our joint bank account first. She grabbed her phone and pulled up our banking app. Her face went pale again. You moved our money? I moved my money. The money I earned while you were playing around with your boyfriend. That's illegal. Actually, it's not. My name was on the account. I had every right to move those funds. Marina grabbed her purse and headed for the door. This isn't over, Caleb. Yes, it is. And Marina? You might want to find somewhere else to stay tonight. The locks have been changed. She turned back, fury in her eyes. You can't lock me out of my own house. Watch me. After she left, I sat in my chair and looked around the empty house. 15 years of marriage, over. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. The hard part was done. Now came the fun part. The weekend passed quietly. Marina called 17 times, but I didn't answer. She tried the doorbell twice, but I pretended not to be home. She even had Owen call me once, but I hung up as soon as I heard his voice. Monday morning brought the reckoning. My phone rang at 8:30 a.m. Greg's number. "You're going to want to see this," he said. "Meet me at the diner on 5th Street." I found him in a corner booth, grinning like he'd won the lottery. He slid a manila envelope across the table. "Owen Vickery's employment was terminated this morning," he said, "effective immediately." "How do you know?" "I have a contact in their HR department. Seems your visit last week started an investigation, and they didn't like what they found. Violation of company policy, conduct unbecoming an employee, moral turpitude clause in his contract. What about Marina?" "Still investigating, but word is she's on administrative leave pending review." The envelope contained photos from this morning. Owen leaving his office building with a cardboard box, looking like someone had kicked his dog. Marina sitting in her car in the parking garage, crying into her phone. "Gets better," Greg continued. Owen's ex-wife filed an emergency motion for full custody. Judge granted a temporary order based on the evidence of his affair. Owen's not allowed unsupervised visits with his kids until the hearing next month. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Owen wanted to play home wrecker? Now he could see what it felt like to have his own home wrecked. What's he going to do for money? That's the beautiful part. His lease on that downtown apartment requires 60 days' notice. His BMW payment is $800 a month. His alimony and child support don't stop just because he lost his job. He's about to learn what financial ruin feels like. My phone buzzed with a text from Marina. "We need to talk. This has gone far enough." I showed the message to Greg. "Think she's ready to negotiate?" "Depends what you want from her." What did I want? I'd already destroyed Owen's career and custody arrangement. I'd exposed their affair to everyone who mattered. I'd taken control of our finances and changed the locks on our house. But I wasn't done. Not yet. That afternoon, I drove to the Rusty Anchor. Becky was behind the bar, polishing glasses and gossiping with the regulars. "Well, well," she said when she saw me. "The man of the hour." Word travels fast. "Honey, the whole town's talking about Marina and her fancy man. Seems like karma finally caught up with both of them." The regulars at the bar, construction workers, mechanics, retirees, all nodded their approval. These were my people, working-class folks, who understood loyalty and commitment. They had no sympathy for cheaters. "Buy you a beer?" asked Tommy Morrison, a plumber I'd known for years. "Thanks, but I'm driving." "How are you holding up?" asked another regular, Joe something or other. "Better than expected. Turns out the truth really does set you free." "What's next?" Becky asked. "Divorce proceedings, I guess. Division of assets, all that legal stuff." "She gonna fight you?" "Probably, but she's not in a strong negotiating position." My phone rang. Marina again. This time I answered. "What do you want?" "Caleb, please, we need to talk. Face to face." "We talked Friday. You said you'd get a lawyer." "I changed my mind? Can we meet somewhere neutral?" "Why?" "Because this is destroying both of us. Owen lost his job, I'm probably going to lose mine, and you're going to lose half your assets in the divorce anyway. We're all losing." "You and Owen are losing. I'm winning." "This isn't a game, Caleb." "You're right. Games have rules. This is war." "Fine. You want war? You'll get war." She hung up, but I wasn't worried. Marina was desperate, and desperate people make mistakes. Tuesday morning, I was inspecting a foundation pour when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Caleb Rourke?" "Speaking." "This is David Chen from Meridian Solutions. We met last week regarding Owen Vickery." "I remember. I wanted to thank you for bringing this situation to our attention. We take employee conduct very seriously." "I'm sure you do. I also wanted to let you know that we've terminated Mr. Vickery's employment. The evidence you provided was quite compelling." "Good to hear." "There is one more thing. Mr. Vickery has made some accusations about your methods of gathering this evidence, claims of harassment, stalking, that sort of thing." "What kind of accusations?" "Nothing specific, and frankly, we're not inclined to take the word of a terminated employee. But I thought you should know." After he hung up, I called Greg immediately. "Owen's trying to flip the script," I told him. "Make me look like the bad guy." "Let him try. Everything we did was legal. You hired a licensed investigator, we gathered evidence of adultery, you reported policy violations to the appropriate authorities. Nothing illegal, nothing unethical." "What if he goes to the police?" "With what? Photos of him cheating on his wife? Hotel records showing his affair? He's got nothing." But I was still worried. Desperate people do desperate things, and Owen Vickery was running out of options. Wednesday brought the answer to my concerns. Marina called, and this time her voice was different. Calm, controlled, dangerous. "I want to meet," she said. "Tonight, 7 o'clock. Russo's restaurant." "Why there?" public place, neutral ground, time to end this like adults. Russo's was an upscale Italian place downtown, the kind of restaurant Marina had always wanted me to take her to, but I'd considered too expensive. The irony wasn't lost on me. I arrived early and got a table in the back where we could talk privately. Marina walked in at exactly 7, wearing a black dress I'd never seen before and carrying herself like she was going to a business meeting. She sat down across from me without saying hello. "You've had your fun," she said. "Now it's time to negotiate." "I'm listening." "Owen's gone. His career is destroyed. His custody arrangement is ruined. His life is in shambles. You won. And I'm willing to make a deal. Uncontested divorce, I keep my job, we split the assets 50-50, and this whole thing goes away quietly." "What makes you think you're in a position to negotiate?" Marina smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. "Because I know things about you, Caleb, things that could make your life very unpleasant." "Such as?" "Such as the building permits you've approved for your buddies without proper inspections. Such as the cash payments you've taken for looking the other way on code violations. Such as the city contracts you've steered to companies that hired you for weekend work." My stomach dropped. She was talking about minor infractions, the kind of corner cutting that happened in small-town construction all the time. Nothing major, nothing that hurt anyone, but enough to cost me my job if it came to light. "You're bluffing." "Am I? I've been married to you for 15 years, Caleb. I know where all the bodies are buried." She leaned forward. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to call off your dogs. You're going to stop harassing Owen. You're going to agree to a fair divorce settlement, and in return, I'll keep my mouth shut about your little ethical lapses." I stared at her across the table, this woman I'd loved and trusted for 15 years, and realized I'd never really known her at all. "And if I don't? Then I go to the city attorney, the state licensing board, and anyone else who will listen. Your career will be over, just like Owen's." She stood up. "You have until Friday to decide. After that, all bets are off." Marina walked out of the restaurant, leaving me alone with the check and the realization that the war was far from over. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd threatened me, and I don't respond well to threats. Thursday morning, I called in sick again and drove to Greg's office. He was waiting with coffee and a grim expression. "She's playing hardball," I told him about Marina's threats. "How much of it is true?" "Enough. Minor stuff, but it would cost me my job if it came out." "So what do you want to do?" "I want to end this. Permanently." Greg leaned back in his chair. Define permanently." "I want Marina and Owen to disappear from my life forever. I want them to be so destroyed, so humiliated, so broken that they never dare to threaten me again." "That's a tall order." "You said Owen was desperate. How desperate?" "Broke, unemployed, facing a custody battle he can't win, about to lose his apartment." "Why?" "Because desperate people make stupid choices, and I want to give him the opportunity to make the stupidest choice of his life." I outlined my plan to Greg. It was risky, borderline illegal, and required perfect timing. But if it worked, it would end the war decisively. "You sure about this?" Greg asked. "Marina wants to threaten me? Fine. Let's see how she handles what's coming." That afternoon, I made a series of phone calls. First, to Owen's apartment building, posing as a potential employer checking references. I learned his lease was up for renewal next month, and he was already 2 weeks behind on rent. Second, to a contact at the unemployment office. Owen had filed for benefits, but his termination for cause meant he wouldn't qualify for several weeks. Third, to Marina's office. She was still on administrative leave, but word was the investigation was ongoing. Fourth, to Owen's ex-wife in Chicago. Rebecca Vickery was more than happy to provide details about Owen's financial situation and his history of poor decisions. By Thursday evening, I had everything I needed. I sent Owen a text from an anonymous phone. "I know what you're going through. If you want to get back at the people who destroyed your life, meet me at the Riverside Bar at 9 p.m. Come alone." Then I called Marina. "I've thought about your offer. And? I want to meet. Tonight, 9:30, Riverside Bar." "Why there?" "Because it's where this all ends." The Riverside Bar was exactly what it sounded like. A dive bar by the river. The kind of place where people went to drink away their problems and make bad decisions. Perfect for what I had planned. I arrived at 8:45 and positioned myself where I could see the entire bar. Owen walked in at exactly 9, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair uncombed, his eyes hollow. He sat at the bar and ordered whiskey. Straight, no ice. The drink of a man with serious problems. At 9:15, I sent him another anonymous text. The man who destroyed your life is meeting his wife here in 15 minutes. Table in the back corner. This is your chance." Owen read the message, looked around the bar, and ordered another whiskey. Marina arrived at 9:30, wearing jeans and a sweater, trying to look casual. She spotted me in the back corner and walked over, not noticing Owen at the bar. "You look terrible," she said, sitting down. "It's been a rough week." "It doesn't have to be. We can end this tonight." "I agree, but not the way you think." Marina frowned. "What do you mean?" I nodded toward the bar. "Your boyfriend's here." She turned and saw Owen, who was staring at us with undisguised hatred. "Oh, God," she whispered. "How did he know?" "I told him." "What?" "I sent him an anonymous message. Told him the man who destroyed his life would be here tonight." Marina's face went white. "Caleb, what did you do?" "I gave him a choice. Walk away and disappear forever, or confront us both and face the consequences." Owen stood up from the bar, swaying slightly. He'd had more than 2 whiskeys. "You," he said, pointing at me. "You destroyed everything." "I didn't destroy anything. I just exposed what you were already doing. My job, my kids, my life, all gone because of you. All gone because you decided to sleep with another man's wife." Owen took a step closer. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Setting us up, playing games, ruining lives." "I think I'm a man who protected himself from people who were trying to destroy his marriage. Your marriage was already over. Marina told me. You ignored her for years, took her for granted, treated her like a roommate." I looked at Marina. "Is that what you told him?" She couldn't meet my eyes. "Interesting version of events," I said. "Very different from the woman who begged me for forgiveness last Friday." Owen moved closer, his hands clenched into fists. "You want to know what your precious wife told me? She said you were boring, predictable, that being with you was like being married to a piece of furniture." The words hit like punches, but I kept my expression neutral. And yet she came home to me every night, kissed me goodbye every morning, told me she loved me. Either she's a very good actress, or you're a very gullible man. "She was trapped," Owen said. "Financially dependent. Scared to leave?" "Scared to leave? Owen, she got you your job. She controlled our social calendar, our finances, our entire life. The only thing she was scared of was losing her safety net while she figured out if you were worth the risk." Marina finally spoke. "Oh, stop it. Both of you." "No," Owen said, his voice getting louder. "I want to hear this. I want to hear how you justify destroying 2 people's lives." "I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourselves when you decided to have an affair." "We fell in love? You fell into bed. There's a difference." Owen lunged at me then, but he was drunk and uncoordinated. I stepped aside and he crashed into the table, sending glasses flying. The bartender looked over. "Hey, take it outside." "Good idea," I said, standing up. "Let's take this outside." We walked out to the parking lot. Owen stumbling, Marina trying to keep up. The night air was cold and clear, perfect for what came next. "You want to fight me?" I asked Owen. "Fine, but let's make it interesting." "What do you mean?" "You win, I'll give Marina an uncontested divorce and disappear. You lose, you both leave town and never come back." Owen straightened up, the alcohol making him braver than he should have been. "You're on." "Caleb, no," Marina said. "This is insane. This is justice." Owen threw the first punch, a wild swing that missed by 6 inches. I'd been in construction for 20 years, working with my hands, staying in shape. Owen was a desk jockey who got his exercise at a gym. The fight lasted about 30 seconds. Owen on the ground, bleeding from his nose, Marina screaming at both of us. "It's over," I said, standing over him. "Both of you pack your things and get out of my town." "You can't make us leave," Marina said. I pulled out my phone and showed her the video I'd been recording. "Owen just assaulted me in front of witnesses. I defended myself. The police will be very interested in this, especially given his recent termination and custody issues." Owen struggled to his feet. "You set this up. I gave you a choice. You made the wrong one." I looked at Marina. "You wanted to threaten me with my past mistakes? Go ahead. But remember, I have video of your boyfriend attacking me, photos of your affair, evidence of your corporate misconduct, and documentation of your lies. Who do you think the authorities will believe?" Marina helped Owen to his car. "This isn't over, Caleb." "Yes, it is. And Marina, if I see either of you in this town again, I'll make tonight look like a friendly conversation." They drove away, leaving me alone in the parking lot under the stars. I walked back into the bar and ordered a beer. The bartender, a guy named Steve I'd known for years, shook his head. "That was some show," he said. "Just taking out the trash." "Your wife?" "Ex-wife, as of tonight." Steve poured my beer. "Good riddance. You deserve better." I raised my glass to the empty parking lot. Here's to new beginnings. 6 months later, I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking coffee and reading the newspaper when my phone rang. Greg's number. "Thought you'd want to know?" he said. "Owen Vickery filed for bankruptcy last week. Marina moved back to her mother's house in Pennsylvania. Good to know they're both thriving. Owen's working at a car dealership in Albany. Marina's waiting tables at a diner. Quite a come down from their executive lifestyle." I felt a surge of satisfaction. "What about the custody case?" "Owen lost. His ex-wife got full custody and increased child support. He's allowed supervised visits twice a month. Perfect. You know, most people would feel bad about destroying 2 lives. Most people don't get cheated on by their spouse and threatened with blackmail." Fair point. After Greg hung up, I walked around my house. My house, not ours anymore. I'd redecorated, gotten rid of everything that reminded me of Marina. New furniture, new paint, new life. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. Marina got nothing. The prenup she'd forgotten about protected all my assets, and her adultery voided any claim to alimony. She'd tried to fight it, but her lawyer advised her to take what she could get and disappear. I'd kept my job, despite Marina's threats. Turns out, when you report your own minor infractions to your supervisor and offer to make restitution, they appreciate the honesty. I got a written reprimand and paid a small fine, but kept my pension and benefits. The town had rallied around me. The betrayed husband who'd stood up for himself, who'd fought back against the cheaters and won. I was a local hero in a small town kind of way. My phone buzzed with a text from Becky. "Dinner Sunday? I'm making pot roast." I texted back. "Sounds perfect." That afternoon, I drove to the cemetery where my parents were buried. I hadn't been there since the funeral, but I felt like I owed them a visit. "Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad," I said, standing by their headstone. "I know you liked Marina, but she turned out to be someone else entirely. I think you would have supported what I did. You taught me to stand up for myself, to fight for what's right." The wind rustled through the trees, and for a moment, I could almost hear my father's voice. "Good job, son. Good job." I drove home as the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. My house looked welcoming, peaceful, like a place where a man could be happy. Inside, I made dinner for one, watched the game, and went to bed early. No more wondering where my wife was, no more lies, no more betrayal. Just peace. The next morning, I was getting ready for work, when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a young woman I didn't recognize. "Can I help you?" I asked through the door. "Mr. Rourke, my name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm a reporter with a local newspaper. I wanted to ask you about your divorce case." I opened the door. "What about it?" "It's become something of a local legend. The man who fought back against his cheating wife and won. People are calling you a hero." "I'm not a hero. I just refuse to be a victim." "Would you be willing to do an interview? Share your story?" I thought about it. Marina and Owen were gone, destroyed, no longer a threat. My reputation was intact, my life was back on track. What harm could there be in telling the truth? "Sure," I said. "Come on in." We sat in my living room, and I told her everything. The lies, the investigation, the confrontation, the final showdown. Jennifer took notes, asked good questions, treated the story with the respect it deserved. "What's the lesson here?" she asked. "What would you tell other people in similar situations?" "Don't be a victim," I said. "Don't let people walk all over you because you love them. Sometimes the only way to save yourself is to destroy the people who are trying to destroy you." "Any regrets?" I thought about Marina, probably serving coffee to truckers in some Pennsylvania diner. About Owen, selling used cars and living in a studio apartment. About the life we could have had if they'd made different choices. "None," I said. "They made their bed. I just made sure they had to lie in it." The article came out the following week. Local man's revenge against cheating wife becomes blueprint for justice. It was picked up by other newspapers, shared on social media, turned into a cautionary tale about the consequences of betrayal. I became something of a celebrity, at least locally. People bought me drinks, asked for advice, told me their own stories of betrayal and revenge. I was the man who'd fought back and won. 6 months after that, I met Sarah at a construction industry conference. She was an architect, recently divorced herself, smart and funny and honest. We started talking, then dating, then something more. "I read about you," she said one night over dinner, about what you did to your ex-wife. And I think she got what she deserved, but I also think you're ready to move on. She was right. The anger was gone, replaced by something better. Peace, satisfaction, the knowledge that justice had been served. A year later, Sarah and I were engaged. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Becky was my best man. She'd earned it. The ceremony was held in my backyard, under the oak tree I'd planted the year Marina left. During the reception, someone asked if I was worried about history repeating itself. Not with Sarah, I said, looking at my new wife. She's nothing like Marina. She's honest. How can you be sure? Because she knows what happened to the last woman who lied to me. Everyone laughed, but I was serious. Sarah knew the story, knew what I was capable of when pushed too far. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. A promise that I would never again be anyone's victim. That night, after the guests had gone home and Sarah was asleep beside me, I lay awake thinking about the journey that had brought me here. The betrayal, the investigation, the revenge, the victory. It had been brutal, but necessary. Marina had tried to destroy me, and I destroyed her instead. Owen had tried to steal my wife, and I'd stolen his entire life. They'd thought they were so clever, so careful, so untouchable. They'd learned otherwise. I rolled over and put my arm around Sarah, this woman who would never betray me, never lie to me, never take me for granted. She stirred in her sleep and smiled. "Love you," she whispered. "Love you too." And I did. But more than that, I trusted her, because she knew the price of betrayal, and she was smart enough never to pay it. Outside, the wind rustled through the oak tree, and somewhere in the distance, a church bell chimed midnight. A new day was beginning. I closed my eyes and slept the sleep of the righteous, the sleep of a man who had fought for justice and won. Marina and Owen were gone, destroyed, forgotten. I was here, happy, victorious. The punch list was complete.